Facebook, on my Facebook page, it says I'm in my 20s or something like that, because I mean, I'm just really wary, especially because we've been kind of told so much as kids in elementary school specifically. We were warned so often of the dangers of the internet, because I think they knew that we were going to be brought up in the internet's era. And so things like my age and phone number and credit card numbers, I always check with my parents before I put them online, which seems a little like childish, but I'm still scared.
There are a lot of stories about how sites like Facebook are selling information and using your information, and that kind of tends to make me really paranoid. So maybe I'll be signing up to get something to order it online, and before I use my address, I think, oh, I have to put my P.O. box, and maybe I'll put my initial for my last name and I won't put my actual name. So things like that tend to make me really uncomfortable, and I don't really like to see that they'd be selling information or using it without permission.
I would personally be more comfortable giving to a reputable company that information, because I know that they are that they're most likely not going to share that information with undesirable contacts. And if I'm going to give my cell phone number up, if I give it to a company like Nike, if they call me, I would feel pretty confident that I could tell them, do not call me. Whereas if I gave it to a random company I do not know, I would be more nervous that they could sell that information and that they would not be as reliable with protecting my privacy.
If we're talking about like pop-ups or like sidebar information stuff, I think most people who see that stuff, like, oh, enter your information, we'll call you, give you free something, it's completely ignored, at least for me. I don't think that most people actually go and put in their information and do that stuff.
Like if you're buying a product like clothing, if it's from a reliable store and your computer is protected, then yes. But as far as privacy goes, I don't really feel comfortable putting that many things on the internet, knowing that it's there forever and anybody could be just like watching what you're doing.
But then if they're to the point where they know my name, if they know like what town I'm from, I think that's going a little too far and too much like invasion of privacy.
I know most people, when it's time to apply for college or apply for a job, most people either delete their Facebook just for that time period or change their name, so people, like, they're still friends with all their friends, but companies can't search them.
Most of the time, if it says it wants to use your personal information, I just think, why would this app need to use my personal information if I just want to play a game? So then I realize that it's trying to do something more, so then I say no.
From personal experience, my parents aren't very technologically savvy, so they are very afraid of like Facebook and other social media sites, so by nature, I always decline, and I don't really play those kind of games online.
I tend to look at a lot of fashion websites, and I noticed one day that as I was surfing the web, I saw an advertisement for a site called refinery29.com, and I checked it out, and it ended up being one of my favorite sites. So I think things like that are kind of what makes it relevant and exciting. But when it gets really personal, as she said, then you kind of shy away from it. Or sometimes I even get to thinking, well, how do they have my history? How do they know where I was? And I think what scares me more is not knowing how they know.
When I'm on YouTube and they give me recommended videos, like, oh, you watched like funny soccer videos, oh, here's funny hockey videos, that's fine. And also it's appropriate if I'm searching Google or whatever, and then like in the sidebars like lacrosse gear for cheap prices or something relevant to me, and that's appropriate, I think is fine. But occasionally when you're like going, they're like, oh, mom near your town, and you're wondering, well, how do they know where my town is then? And that gets a little bit like thing, especially when they start referencing like your age, like it seems more targeted at your age and location. That makes you a little worried, because like that's way too much rather than like just what I'm doing on the internet.
And if you think about like how many people they're actually doing this to, it's not really like a name, it's more like you're a number, so it doesn't really affect me that much. I don't really think about it too deeply.